spoke to my mate Dean, and he said, have a look at it. Excuse me, mate. Oh, he's not my mate.
Just your mate, isn't it?
Oh, anyway.
Just know him,
He's just don't listen to him. Yes, so I did a bit of research because Dean said, look, have a look at the Artec stuff. It ain't cheap. I'm trying to throw flip-flops on you now. It ain't cheap. Well, I wouldn't say they're not cheap. To me, you can spend a lot of money on welders. You spend up to £1,000, £2,000 or whatever. You can spend up to 100 quid on a welder. At the end of the day, for what we're doing, we ain't, even if it's a £2,000 welder, we ain't going to be able to use it properly. If you're a professional and you're really good at welding, you might want that welder because it does certain things, you can do certain things with it. We're going to struggle to do what we're going to do with it, so the only thing what will be letting this welder down is us lot using it. So to us, £500 for a decent welder with 3 years warranty seems the right sort of money what you want to kind of spend. At the end of the day, people may say no, you can get cheap welders that do the same thing. If they do, they do. But I'm going off what someone's said to me and what they use it daily. So at the end of the day, if they use something daily and it doesn't break, or it does break and they can get it repaired weekly. So if you go on Artec's website, which I did, went online, and obviously they do this 180, I think MIG 180, it's £498 including the VAT, which I thought that's half decent price. So I spoke to Dean and said, look, will that do what I'm going to do? And he said, best thing to do, goes ring up Artec, they'll give you any advice. If you kind of explain to them what you want to do with the welder, like we said, well look, we're welding up a car, that's what we're going to be using it for. They will advise you if this welder is going to be good enough, or you might be looking at the 250 and they go, look mate, you don't need that welder. You're never ever going to get to, on a car, you're never going to be needing to weld anything over a certain thickness, so we'd recommend use the 180, it's cheaper, it's going to do exactly the same thing. So in total we paid for the wire, the welder, the mask and the gloves, we paid £528.58 including VAT, so he even gave us a discount, so it is worth ringing them up, speaking to them. So yeah, we'll get this open, we'll have a look and see what we got. It's the first time I've even looked at this. I presume this opens somehow. From there. Yeah. And obviously our wire goes on here. Obviously the wire then gets fed through there. We'll have to get this all set up, and yeah, it's a tidy little thing. It's not heavy even, it's not bulky. Nice and light. I have got a stand coming, so get it on a stand, because obviously if we're welding underneath.
We're Tokyo drifting.
Yeah. Obviously, as long as it's got pictures in, I'll be fine. If it hasn't, I'll leave it to Jack. But you always, what you do with a manual, you'll put it to one side, you'll set all this up, you'll get to a point where you can't do it, and then you'll look at the manual. That's what I do anyway. Right in here. Oh, hello. Look at them bad boys. You want to have a go, Dan?
They match your
Oh, got them for you.
Cheers, mate.
There's more stickers.
I think I might use these on the next strap bar.
That is our regulator for the gas bottle, which obviously they supply with it. Then we've got the MIG lamps. It's a load of tips in here. and then there's obviously a little spanner to undo them, so they're all the tips what go in the end. Obviously that's your earth cable, negative, and then that's your feed from your gas bottle to, well, from your regulator, from your gas bottle to the welder. Yep. That's our welding wire. Obviously then that just sits in the machine. You can get different sizes of this, but when I've looked into it, obviously a bigger welder will hold bigger wire, bigger amount of wire. But what they're saying is, even if you use it quite often, and it sits, or you don't use it quite often, it sits, before you've even used the wire, it can rust out and go rusty, so you end up changing it. So this is going to take us ages to get through. Well, we ain't finished looking at that. Always cut away from yourself. I learnt the hard way. Oh, Dave! It's black. You wanted a black one, didn't you? I don't even find my way out of a plastic bag. It used to be paper, but... Oh, it's blue. Nice, that is. Look at that. I need to adjust it a bit. 528£58 got us this lovely MiG 180 with obviously all the torch, the attachments and whatnot, and regulator, then a mask and some wire and tips, and then all we had to do then is get obviously the gas. So once we get all, and we need a plug, so just got to put a plug on it, get it plumbed up to the gas, and that's it. It's ready to go, ready to weld. So if you're watching, Aaron, mate, just send us some stickers. Then you can be on our ramp of fame then. You know what I mean? Well, perhaps he knows we're really crap at welding and he don't want to put his name to it, so we won't let us have a sticker. I've got the gas turned on now. We've set the ampage at what they recommend in the manual to set it up, so we've just gone off there, set the wire speed quite slow at the minute. I'm just going to have a little practice on that, see what happens, and then go from there, adjust the gas and adjust the voltage, ampage and the wire speed, and see what we can obviously do. Obviously, as you probably know or you don't know, if you've ever welded before, once you get it set up, you set it up for the metal you're welding. So if I went on something thinner or thicker, I'd have to then change it all again. So it's always best, before you weld whatever you're welding, is have a scrap piece of metal to set your welder up on, what's the same thickness what you're going to weld. So you're not practicing on what you actually want to kind of get good. Yeah, that's a lot better. See how more wire speed has made a cleaner weld. So what I'm going to do, now I've got it set on that, I'm going to start at this end, try and welding that up, and I'll have a little mess about with that and see if anything adjusts. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip this over now, give it a weld along here and see. That's my first weld on this welder, and I haven't welded anything for, and I'm not a professional welder either. I ain't going to say I'm a professional welder. I've welded before in the past, little bits and bobs, you know, doing things, but I don't know, would you say the weld's quite high on that? Let that cool down because it's red hot. But as you can see, I don't know if you can see inside there, you can see it's actually penetrated through, and that's on both sides. You can see the discolouring, so that is welded together. I mean, it's not the straightest thing in the world, but it ain't bad. I mean, could it be flatter? Could I get that flatter? Well, I probably could if I had a bit would you say a bit more heat and it'll sink it in? I think like with anything, practice makes perfect, doesn't it, at the end of the day? I think if you do it more and more practice, so basically the last bit of weld we'll do on this car, it'll be perfect. Nah, we'll get it. Grinding off the top of the weld, some people might say if you're that good of a welder you shouldn't have to grind a weld off, but obviously that's a bit proud, so I'm not grinding this area because obviously if you grind the other bits it makes that thinner, so I'm just trying to get the top of this weld at the minute. So obviously I've ground the top of the weld down now, and obviously I've then come onto the box a bit to kind of just thin it out and obviously get rid of any lines of the weld, but as you can see it doesn't look like there's any pitting or anything in it. It doesn't look too bad. I mean, this is nearly 2mm, I think it's 1.8 or 1.5 or 2, it's under 2mm, just under I think. So that's going to be the thickest sort of stuff we're going to be welding on this car. I mean, panels and that are quite thin, and obviously the chassis legs and stuff are thicker and obviously double thickness in areas, but like double plated, but that's probably around about the thickest we're going to be doing, so it's done that with ease. Like I say, the only thing what's letting that welder down is me. But I think with a bit more practice, I'm happy with that at the end of the day. Are you happy, Jack?
Did a good job there,
Yeah.
I think.
You know what it was? Flu. I didn't burn my legs either. Not sometimes. Always remember to turn your gas off as well, because you'll come back to an empty bottle. I've done that before. You know when you borrow someone's welder and gas, they go, have you used all my gas? Yeah, I kind of left the welder on. So, I'm literally making up a pattern to, obviously, we've gone over to the rear axle to get it all squared up in the right position. I've made a pattern out of timber, which all seems to work. So, I'm going to now make that out of metal, and obviously we've got the other shell, which we're going to then tip on its side, get everything all bolted up in place, and then we can just tack this into position, and we can bring that over to this car. Everything's all in the correct position, so when we re-weld them bits in what we've cut out on them rear chassis legs for the locating bolts for the rear axle, everything's in the correct position, because like I said, you can be out left to right, front to back, you know what I mean? You don't want your rear axle on the squiff, because you'll be trying to correct it, be all crabbing down the road. So yeah, got to quickly knock this up now. We can use the welder and see how it performs. So obviously got the steel now, cut it to the same size as the timber wooden patterns. We've drilled that, obviously that's our marking point on the rear suspension shock bump stop, I think, like the cone bit on there. So what we're going to do, we're going to flip that shell we got out there on its side, get this all bolted up, remark that all up so it's correct. I think we're going to then chop that out so it sits nice, get it all up there, bolted up, all straight, tack weld that up, bring it in here, make sure it all works on this. Shouldn't be any difference at the end of the day. So, and then that'll be this part done, so we can finish off cutting out the rest of it. And we know 100% when we bolt that back axle up, it's 100% in the right position, not in the wrong position. So yeah, if you're going to do this repair, you need to, I mean, B&Q, I've got this from this box, you can get it from proper steel places, but where I was getting the gas from for the while, there's a local B&Q, so popped in there. I think the length of this, 2.5 metres, was 18 quid, something like that. So yeah, do it with a timber bit first, because you can always drill another hole. It's a lot easier to drill, make a bit of a pattern up, or you could just go straight and do it with the box, but it's completely up to you. So we'll get that flipped over now, and then obviously you'll see us getting it all together, and fingers crossed it all goes swimmingly and to plan, innit, Jack? I mean, Dave's was here, he'd been up all night watching documentaries again. He left his push bike obviously at the beer garden, so he's gone to see if that's still there. Obviously it must not be, or he's probably gone home to bed. Do you reckon he's gone home to bed?
I'd say so.
Yeah. They're all coming out of it, look. Dirty. I'll put that on YouTube, Jack.
It's just,
People might be having a Sunday dinner.
it's the way of life.
We've got this up on the side now. Got these rear axle chassis bolts. When they screw in, because that's obviously welded up and that's all level, this will hold all this correct. So what we're going to do now, obviously that's where it's been patched before. It's probably had a plate on the side as well because it don't look original there. I've got to get that in there. That's that. I'll tighten that up in a sec. This one. And if we mark this right off the other one, this should, like it has,
Same home.
we've cut this out. I've cut that out with a, what do you call them, Jack?
Hole cutter.
Like a hole cutter. So that's like a perfect fit for that now. So that slips on there nicely. You can see that's in the right position. Same with this one down here. We know we've got that distance from there to there is correct. And then obviously this is against the sill, same as down there. And obviously this is bolted through. And obviously I started here, welded that, obviously then welded that. And then on my last weld down there, I'm really impressed with this weld. I've only welded this so far, but it's done the job, do you know what I mean? So you're going to see more of this weld and see what it can do. And obviously if it's no good, we're going to let you know, but if it's good, we'll let you know. So we'll unbolt this now, and this is where it doesn't fit on that car, but let's see. In that. See, that needs adjusting now.
Which is okay, isn't it? Because
Yeah, because they can adjust.
but we thought they might be an issue anyway.
Yeah. This ain't going to bolt up, is it? Because there's nothing to bolt into.
Like that.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, YouTube. So that's that hook there.
Well, these won't line up.
Oh, that don't line up with that.
You've done this wrong.
No.
Because the chassis is twisted. This is a twisted chassis, this has, isn't it? Probably.
What I'm saying is that won't go up because this sill,
Yeah, it catches on the sill.
it catches on the sill, but on the other one, it don't catch on the sill. So there's two options. You either use it how it is on that, either use it how it is on that car, or we adjust it so it works on this car.
Stick it with an hammer.
Right, so we've got obviously our jig
frame.
Yeah, jig. So we've got that all located. So that's obviously located in here. This is slipped on them there. That's slipped on that there. Obviously that then, when we do the new piece, we'll bolt and that locates obviously where we've got to spot and weld the nutsert. Are they like a nutsert? Like a nut what's connected to the body. So that will all be in the right position. Get that one done. And then obviously, because that's in the right position, then we can cut this side out, do vice versa, the same way as this, but the opposite way around basically, and do the same there. And then we know that axle and the bolts are all in the correct position. Like I say, we took a jig off another car. So what we did make a mistake. We cut this out before making the jig. So if you're doing this and you haven't got a spare car, don't cut out before you made the jig. But like I say, first time we've done this, you make mistakes, everyone learns from the mistakes. And
Or-
no one's perfect.
Or make us an offer and you can have this one.
Yeah.
We'll send it, yeah.
We might need to do another one, you never know. Nah.
Never again.
Yeah. If you want some measurements, I'll make you one up. 300 million quid. So yeah, that's it for...
Dave's had enough.
Enough, Dave.
I'm not allowed to laugh no more, am I?
Oh no, sorry, I can't
Oh, yeah,
laugh.
don't
It's
laugh.
got me serious. Anyway, we can't laugh or say anything funny, so we'll have to go.
Alright, let's go find out what gender your baby is.
Sure.
Bye.